Yes. Let's start with Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We are reading Bhagwat Geeta as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We are on text 30 of chapter 6. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Let's read the purport. A person in Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere, and he sees everything in Krishna. Such a person may appear to see all separate manifestations of the material nature, but in each and every instance, he is conscious of Krishna, knowing that everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Nothing can exist without Krishna, and Krishna is the Lord of everything. This is the basic principle of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the development of love of Krishna, a position transcendental even to material liberation. So, after you're liberated from material energy, like sense organs, there's another stage that you have to reach. It's not like that when we are, you know, when we can overcome our senses, we have reached transcendental stage. There is still some, how do I say, some more effort required to reach that position. Okay. At this stage of Krishna consciousness, beyond self realization, the devotee becomes one with Krishna in the sense that Krishna becomes everything for the devotee and the devotee becomes full in loving Krishna. An intimate relationship between the Lord and the devotee then exists. And in that stage, the living entity can never be annihilated, nor is the personality of Godhead ever out of the sight of the devotee. To merge in Krishna is spiritual annihilation. A devotee takes no such risk. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita 5.38 in quotes, I worship the primeval Lord, Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shama Sundara, situated within the heart of the devotee. At this stage, Lord Krishna never disappears from the sight of the devotee, nor does the devotee ever lose sight of the Lord. In the case of a yogi who sees the Lord as Paramatma within the heart, the same applies. Such a yogi turns into a pure devotee and cannot bear to live for a moment without seeing the Lord within himself. Let's move to text 31. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the super soul. One second. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the super soul, knowing that I and the super soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. Okay, let's read the purport. A yogi who is practicing meditation on the super soul sees within himself the plenary portion of Krishna as Vishnu, with four hands holding conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. The yogi should know that Vishnu is not different from Krishna. Krishna is in this form of super soul situated in everyone's heart. Furthermore, there is no difference between the innumerable super souls present in the innumerable hearts of living entities. Nor is there a difference between a Krishna conscious person always engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna and a perfect yogi engaged in meditation on super soul. The yogi in Krishna consciousness, even though he may be engaged in various activities while in material existence, remains always situated in Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhakti Rasamrata Sindhu 1.2.187 verse of Srila Rupa Goswami. Nikhilasva apya avasthasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. A devotee of the Lord, always acting in Krishna consciousness, is automatically liberated. In the Narad Pancharatna, this is confirmed in this way. So now I am going to read the quoted text. By concentrating one's attention on the transcendental form of Krishna, who is all pervading and beyond time and space, one becomes absorbed in thinking of Krishna and then attains the happy state of transcendental association with him. Krishna consciousness is the highest stage of trance in yoga practice. This very understanding that Krishna is present in Paramatma, in everyone's heart, makes the yogi faultless. The Vedas, that is Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.21, confirm this inconceivable potency of the Lord as follows. Although the Lord is one, he is present in innumerable hearts as many. Similarly, in the Smriti Shastra, it is said, Vishnu is one, and yet he is certainly all pervading. By his inconceivable potency, in spite of his one form, he is present everywhere, as the sun appears in many places at once. This is also explained in Ramayana. Let's go to text 32. He is perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. O Arjun, let's read the purport. One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. The perfect yogi knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since a perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world and he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way, he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man towards Krishna consciousness. Let's read text 33. It's now Arjun saying to Lord Krishna. Arjun said, O Madhusuna, sorry. O Madhus, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Let's read the purport. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjun, beginning with the words Chukayu Deshe, Shukayu Deshe, and ending with Yogi Paramaha, is here being rejected by Arjun out of a feeling of inability. कैसे करेंगे ये सब? It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in this age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self realization even by simple practical means, and what to speak of this difficult yoga system, which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, and detachment of mind from material engagements. As a practical man, Arjun thought it was impossible to follow the system of yoga, even though he was favorably endowed in many ways. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior, he had great longevity, and above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. As a practical man, Arjun thought it was impossible to follow the system of yoga even though he was favorably endowed in many ways. Yes. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior, he had a great longevity, and above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, Arjun had much better facilities than we do now, yet he refused to accept this system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it at any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some, very few, rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what of the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system, see the words, the use of words, imitating this yoga system is different in different so-called schools and societies. Although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance of the desired goal. Let's read text 34. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. This is still Arjun telling to Krishna. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think it is more difficult than controlling the wind. I repeat again. Text 34. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think is more difficult than controlling the wind. Let's read the purport. The mind is so strong and obstinate that it sometimes overcomes the intelligence, although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence. For a man in the practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements, it is certainly very difficult to control the mind. Artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium towards both friend and enemy, but ultimately, no worldly man can do so, for this is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. In the Vedic literature, it is said, the literature is Katha Upanishad 1.3.3 and 4. Atmanam Rathi Rathinam Rathamnam Vidhi Shariram Ratham Evacha Buddhim Tu Sarathim Vidhi Manaha Pragraham Eva Cha Indriyani Hayan Ahur Vishayam Mas Vishayams Teshu Gocharan Atmendriya Mano Yuktam Bhokte Ahur Manishinaha. Oh my god, this is like Sanskrit written in English letters. The individual is the passive, in quotes, the individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, and intelligence is the driver. Mind is the driving instrument. Wow, I love this analogy. Mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. So it is understood by great thinkers. Yes. Quotes close. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence, as an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine. Such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga, but such practice is never practical for a worldly man like Arjuna. And what can we say of modern man? The simile used here is appropriate. One cannot capture the blowing wind, and it is even more difficult to capture the turbulent mind. The easiest way to control the mind, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya, is chanting Hare Krishna, the great mantra for deliverance in all humility. The method prescribed is Savai Manaha Krishna Padavra Vrinda Yoga. One must engage one's mind fully in Krishna. Only then will there remain no other engagements to agitate the mind. Wow. What questions? Let's read text 35. Now Sri Krishna is answering this to Arjuna. I think we can do. Okay. There are again 47 text in chapter 6. Okay. Let's finish till 37. Text 35. Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Let's read the purport. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in the 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. What is that practice? I just By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. Okay, so there are 9 types of other practices which you can use. You can pick any one to get into controlling your mind. Yes. So, first is hearing about Krishna. This is very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Pareshanubhav, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfied and strength. Similarly, by discharging of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. Let's read text 36. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Let's read the purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Such a show of yoga may be materially lucrative, but it is useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. Therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor, but a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious. So true. Let's end here with Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We will start from text 37 tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Let's do some Radha Jap. Radha, Shri Radha, Radha, Shri Radha, Radha, Shri Radha, Radha, Shri Radha, Radha, Shri Radha.